Welcome to another episode of Whitetail Rendezvous, coming to you 6 days a week as we interview whitetail experts and hear their traditions and personal stories of the hunt. Learn more about the latest gear, discover proven tips, and the latest strategies so you can make your next hunt a success. Now, here's your host, Bruce Hutchin.
Whitetail Rendezvous is pleased to announce a partnership with GoHunt.com. Who's GoHunt.com? Well, if you're a DIY hunter, you need the information at GoHunt.com/insider. Why? Because it provides 4,200 profiles, every unit, every species, and every season. Furthermore, they give in-depth analysis, interactive maps, unit access, and seasonal trends. Draw odds are very important, and they give you the most accurate information in the business. All this is available when you go to GoHunt.com/insider. Make sure you use promo code WR2017 when you join Insider. You'll get a $50 gift card for GoHunt.com Gear Shop. All in all, if you're hunting out west in 2018, GoHunt.com Insider is where you need to be to get all the research information. When you use promo code WR2017, Whitetail Rendezvous receives a small commission from GoHunt.com. Hey, folks, welcome to another episode of Whitetail Rendezvous. This is Bruce Hutchin. You probably already know that, but I say it anyway. And we're heading down to Georgia with Ryan Campbell. And Ryan's a heck of a guy, and we just did a Facebook Live deal. He's talking about the pine plantations. And so let's just stay right there, Ryan, and talk about hunting immature, mature, and then past their prime plantation, because I never have, and I found it fascinating what you were sharing. So have at it.
Oh yeah, well, thanks for having me on. And we do have a lot of pines down here. They started planting them. I'm not exactly sure when, but it's really helped the habitat for turkeys and deer pretty tremendously, I would say. Even though it's not their favorite, it has provided a lot more just woods in general in the area. And people keep up with the timber companies, do a good job of making sure people cut them on time, and they have wildlife in mind usually in most of these places. But I would say some people, it's their favorite places to hunt is in wide open pines, just for because you can see a long ways. I tend to not see as many deer when it's really open. But that's just because I bow hunt, and if I do see one 100 yards away, it doesn't do me a whole lot of good. But like I was saying, when they're younger pine trees, really, really generates a lot of undergrowth. So about halfway up a 5-foot pine tree is tall grass and briars, and it just creates a perfect bedding cover scenario for whitetails down here, and they'll really hunker down in there, and sometimes they'll come out and sometimes they won't. Sometimes they'll just stay in there all year, and you may not even see your big bucks that you have in there, but they're in there usually. So hunting on the edge of those is always good. But around the 10 to 12 year mark, I would say they're about 20 feet tall or so, and it starts to open up on the floor in there. But it's open, but it's shaded, and they're close enough together where it shades out everything, and there's nothing but pine straw on the ground under them. So your place kind of goes dead in there until they open back up until you thin them. And then it's just it's a process that you have to hunt around and know what your food value is in there. And it's a big part of it is knowing what time of year. Because late season, when all the briars, green briars, and grass and stuff is dead, you're really not looking at a whole lot of food value in them. But early season, it'll be kind of the best place you have to hunt. And on the edges of, say, a block of pines and a block of hardwoods can be some of your best hunting around here.
Where do they find the water in those plantations?
We have pretty good creek systems around here, but there are some of them that don't have running creeks. So usually it's man-made ponds. It'll 3-4 acre ponds and little creek bottoms at the top of those. And they may have to travel. Uh, they may have to travel 4, 5, 600 yards sometimes to get to water in some of these big places. Um, some guys do try to haul water tanks around in the back of their truck, fill up little holes that they dig, but there is times where deer have to travel a long way to get to water, and it can be a good place to be down here when it's hot.
So we got cover and we got water, and food is sketchy. I hear you. How many guys put food plots right next to the plantations?
Oh, they'll be full of food plots. Um, Pretty much everybody plants down here because we have a lot of agriculture down here. Probably not as much as the Midwest, but we do have a lot. So food in the summer months is easy for them to find. Plant a lot of soybeans. Everybody's got corn, soybeans, a little bit of grain sorghum, stuff like that. That are just big farms plant, and they can find that. Those places will be it's really good food for them. Soybeans is usually the hot place, even in summer months. Even if there's corn around, I think they prefer a soybean field over a cornfield down here. And but everybody plants food plots pretty good. Usually, the hunting crowd, hunting clubs, private landowners, they'll wait till September to just plant winter plots because our summers here, if you don't have irrigation, you can't really plant corn by yourself because seed's expensive and you can plant it, but if it doesn't rain, you're just out, you know, time and money. So usually people just wait to plant oats and wheat, winter stuff, for the winter time, and just kind of go that way as far as food plots go.
But let's talk about your hunting techniques in Georgia. How do you, Ryan, personally hunt?
I have to. I personally, we have a place on the river, so our early season is sort of slow. I don't usually get deer opening day like a bunch of my friends and uh, people I know do because our deer they don't come out of the clear cut areas in the swamp, which is nothing but briars, huge blocks of briars, and they don't come out of there until October. Um, so we set up on acorns about October on, and that sounds strange because all we do is bow hunt, and that's gun season comes in October down here. So we really don't even get cranking on our bow season until bow season has been in for well over a month. And then it's you find your acorns uh, in your green field and kind of figure out your pattern morning, afternoon, find your what they're really where they're hitting their green field at night, and you set up in between there and their bedding as kind of your morning strategy. Usually, afternoons you either can get in the green field or just on your hottest oak tree. But finding your hot oak tree that starts in the summer. My dad taught me this. He's uh, one of the best hunters I've ever met. But ever since I was a little kid, we'd go to the swamp when it's blistering hot in the summer, and you spend all day walking in the woods, looking up with your binoculars in the top of trees, and you find, every tree's got a few acorns, but by doing that, it's just putting in extra time to where which tree, down to the exact tree, has the most acorns, and you put your stand in that tree, and that really narrows your search down from the get go. That's just how we've always tried to work it as far as acorns go. And I don't never really hear a whole lot of people doing that, and I tell people to do it. But that's how we find our best success. Is summertime. You look at your acorns in the tree when they're green, find out your exact tree because somehow those deer find and know where the best tree is, and you get there on the right day, and it is that's kind of how we try to work it.
Now, what you're telling me is you and your dad go out for a stroll, and I don't know if there's 10 oak trees or 50 or 1,000. I have no idea. but then you're looking up through the leaves and you're trying to find the one with the most acorns or mass already, already shaped up.
Yeah, that is we do that in the summertime usually.
It's hotter than pistol down there, dude. It's 100 degrees.
Yeah, it's warm, that's for sure. Uh, but it really pays off. You know, guys talk about scouting. They'll go and get in there early season and hang their stands when it's a week before deer season. Well, and they don't. They- They're so busy working on their stands and trimming, and then you're 60, 70 yards from the best oak tree, and you don't know it yet. And then you don't get down there until November, because of work and life, and you're 60, 70 yards away from the best oak tree. And bow hunting, that's just, you're kind of out of luck on that deal. And then you have to move it, in November, and you kind of want to avoid uh, extra time on the ground in November because the deer are smart.
So you find the oak tree, then you immediately set up your stand once you find it in the summer.
Yeah, we know general areas just because we've had the place a long time. But even though in general areas, you've still got to narrow it down, within, because we like to get, our average shot is 15 yards down here just because it's woods, and that's just where your bigger bucks, that's just where you're going to find them is in thicker stuff and on acorns, and you need to be close to him because bow hunting uh, in the woods, 40 yards, it sounds good in your yard while you're shooting, but you get in the woods and he's walking around or doing whatever, 40 yards is just plain old too far. And you need to be on top of him to get him. I think I shot one I killed this year was about 7 or 8 yards. The other one was a little farther, but one of them I killed was 7 or 8 yards.
Out of the oak tree.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Now, how high do you get up in your oak tree? Because these are gnarly oak trees. These aren't just skinny little oak trees. These been here for a while.
Yeah, these are 60, 70-year-old trees. They've been there a while. So they're, you can't really reach around them. And we don't do anything crazy high. We try to get a 20-foot stand is good down there because the trees are open. But I don't we don't have to have those 35-foot stands down here. I don't really I know a lot of people do like to get way up there. But we hunt a few. We got a few 10-foot stands that are just good. You got to get them shoved up in the leaves and hide them a little bit. Um, but hide a stand. I don't put all. I don't like to get that high just for safety. I just don't. But we try to get 20 foot's our favorite. And the rest of them are probably 15. And but we have all kind of old stands, 10 foot, 12. Um, but I would say 15 is our average. And that's a good height, I think.
And what kind of brand of stands do you use?
We have a lot of family tradition stands. Are you familiar with those? They're
No, sir.
ladder stands. They're metal ladder stands. Pretty simple. And we have had those for years and years, and they have been so good because my dad and my uncles they used to hunt out of little homemade lock-on stands. And I remember when I was a kid, I couldn't even get in them because the steps would be so far apart and just dangerous little rinky dink stuff. So when they finally somebody fell out, I can't remember if it was my uncle, which one of my uncles it was. Somebody fell out of one, and kind of said, "Hey, they might be able to see it a little better, but we're gonna we're gonna do something a little bit safer." So we've done family tradition stands for the past 20 or so years, and have had as they have stood up to it. They're pretty expensive, but they are a good stand.
So what makes them a good stand? Are they hang-ons or ladders?
Yes, sir. 15 to 20 foot ladders.
So why do you like them opposed to a gazillion other stand manufacturers out there?
Well, they come in 3 foot sections. You put them together yourself, and they don't have any creak to them. There's no noise. No that you don't have to have the support that goes up against the tree in the center of it because made they're made stiff enough where you don't need the support in the center, and they've just been really good. tough. They last a long time. They you can get them with the gun rail, the back, your backrest, and all that. We get the simple ones, but they're comfortable. The seats are made out of the seat belt, like a car seat belt material,
Mm-hmm.
and it lasts a long time. It holds up well, pretty comfortable, um, and they're light. One person, you can carry you can carry a 15-foot ladder stand by yourself pretty comfortably. I mean, it's never that comfortable, but moving tree stands. But you can carry a 15-foot ladder stand by yourself to 300 yards, and you're not going to be dead. And you'll be able to put it up um, by yourself. They're lightweight. And they're just in all around good stands.
When you think about hunting, talk to us about your hunting tradition. Where did that come from?
Well, my grandfather really loved bow hunting, traditional archery, because that's kind of all there was, when he started. Wasn't any such thing as compounds, I don't think. Um, and he shot tournament archery, field archery, stuff like that. My grandmother was like the Georgia state champion, in the female whatever division in the 60s or something like that. Uh, they kind of passed it on to my uncles and my dad, and they took it kind of to another level and how serious they are about it. I grew up shooting traditional gear, recurve longbow stuff. And my dad, he held out with his Black Widow recurve for years and years. Didn't want to shoot a compound. He didn't like them. And he really he he's probably one of the best big game hunters in the world, honestly. He killed several record book elk with his 21st century longbow. He went on a float plane trip to Alaska back when you could do it by yourself. Got dropped out in some lake with a tent in his recurve bow and killed like a 56-inch moose with his recurve by himself. And my uncle he's killed the number one and the number three white-tailed deer bow kills in Georgia, and they live and breathe it, always have, and they taught us how to do it, but made us do it the hard way. I've the four biggest deer I've ever seen in my life, I've either missed or couldn't get a shot at, just because I've been bow hunting my whole life. It's been a struggle, and but it's been fun. It's been worth it. I think it really has.
Now, are you traditional archer or do you use a compound?
I use a compound. I still have. We have a bunch of old recurves. I still shoot them. I like to go hog hunting with it, but I've gotten to where now, it's hard enough as it is. Don't need making it any harder. But I do like to shoot it, and uh, I've killed. I've only killed a couple of hogs with my recurve. I've never killed a deer with it. I've missed a big buck with it, but that's that's one of those things. I thought I was better than I was.
Join the club.
Yep.
Join the club. Hey, let's take a moment and do a little gear talk here. What was the last piece of gear you bought?
Last piece of gear I bought was probably got a bunch of arrows and kind of stocked up before deer season on arrows and broadheads. I got slick trick broadheads and just carbon express arrows. I've had pretty good luck with that setup out of my bow.
Why'd you buy those broadheads?
Well, we've shot expandables for a couple years. Had some good luck with them, but I shot a deer in the shoulder 2 years ago and didn't recover it. I shot him right in front of the shoulder, and it ended up right in front of the shoulder and hit him right in the spine, but just didn't knock him. It didn't get him. And a buddy of mine came hunting. He comes and hunts on our property with us. He ended up killing him the same year, and the hole was completely closed over on his skin. I pulled the broadhead. It was just stuck in his spine, and it just didn't get him. So we kind of went back to fixed blade, and that seems to be one of the more quality fixed blades that we've found is the slick tricks. They're tough. They tough, and they come sharp out of the package. and we've had good luck with those.
Let's talk about that shot in front of the shoulder. So you got the shoulder blade, and then, well, it's going to drop into the neck, and then you do have the spine. So did you pull the shot a little bit, or
Yep,
tell me about the shot? I don't want to put you on on the spot, but I am.
it's fine. Um, yeah, it was a long story. I had this buck that he kept coming out in the food plot every night, and he'd walk right up under me at dark, and I let him do that like 3 times. Never shot. I was like, I'm not gonna do that. And then like the fourth time he did it, uh, I turned loose a good shot. I could see everything, but he may have taken a step, and it was a little too dark for me to shoot. It was still probably in legal shooting hours, but it was probably a little too dark to shoot. And I think he either turned or something, and I thought it was a good shot. It felt good when I turned it loose, but I think I was just looking at it wrong because of low light, and it hit him, and he dropped to the ground and got up and took off. Sure did. That was and I was sick about that for about a month, and then he just showed back up like nothing was wrong. Just and my buddy got him, and I got that broadhead out of him.
Now, had the blades expanded?
They did. Yep.
But there's
And
no
now
penetration.
it it was stuck in his spine. The ferrule of it was actually stuck in his spine, but it just didn't from the blades hitting that front of that shoulder, going through that, opening up, and then hitting that spine. It didn't have enough juice to really knock him down. I guess that's a really tough part of their spine up there too, and it did not get him. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I wonder. The reason I brought it up, I wonder if you had a fixed blade, that it would have made any difference. I'm a fixed blade guy, and
I think it would have.
And I've seen some fixed blade do some nasty stings on elk, and just you going, how did that blade do that? One, because you have the kinetic energy driving that blade, and then this construction of the blade, and literally cutting bone and finishing the job. And because everybody makes a bad shot, and folks, if you think, oh, those guys shouldn't have, everybody makes a bad shot. If you haven't made one yet, you're gonna make one. So just get over yourself. That's pretty much it. And be ethical, do everything right, but stuff happens, and that's just the way it is. And enough of that. But on the fixed blade, I just think structurally, they can bring it better, and the kinetic energy is better. You know, that's my thought. What are your thoughts?
I think so. You, especially with they have brought the expandables that open from the front to back. That's got to just take your energy. That's got to knock your energy down. And I've just had better luck with the fixed blades, especially for shoulder type stuff, shoulder, spine. I will say, if those big expandables are good if you hit back and rib cage, kind of gut area. That's probably better for those type shots, just because it makes such a big hole. But you can make a pretty good shot in a shoulder, and you're not going to get the penetration you really need with an expandable, I don't think.
So that's our thought about expandables, and that's Ryan and Bruce's gear talk on tackle. Oh, I'm looking at your bio, and you're one of the fortunate people that live where you can hunt basically all the time, and you have a family that supports you. What would you say to the people out there that don't have that didn't grow up in that? As you said, and proudly so, your dad and your uncle, some of the finest, archery hunters in North America. Whether they're on somebody's radar or not doesn't really matter. It's been there and done that. So, what would you say to people that don't have that lineage, that don't have that, tradition behind them in regards to hunting?
I would say just learn as much as you can from people who do go. And but I know some guys who started in their early 20s, and from learning on their own and learning their own techniques instead of trying to pick up what, um, say something like like my dad told me to do this, but um, some of those guys end up being the best whitetail hunters because they learn their own techniques as they go, um, trial and error. Um, but they, obviously you have to take the time to ask people what works, what doesn't, you know, um, and just try to go as much as you can. I know public land these days is sometimes crowded, but there are opportunities there to get out and go and um, just try to get in the community, and maybe you can get into a place, make some friends, get into a club that provides you with opportunities that you need. But definitely, I wouldn't just say discourage, just because you haven't had. Like I said, I know some guys who started with from having no experience, and they learned it on their own and really know how to do it. And it can be done, within 5 years' time, you can have a set of skills that can put you doing the same thing as Michael Waddell. It's not impossible to kill a big buck um, by any means, anywhere. You just have to put the time in, ask some questions, learn from the people who know, but mainly just get out and go. That's how you learn. I mean, even though my dad and them are the best, I've learned more. You always learn more going by yourself. Because, a lot of times, even though people know what they're doing, they may not know how to explain what they're doing. They may not want to tell you what they're doing. Um, so just getting out and going is your main obstacle, finding time to go and learning how to go.
Thank you for that. Let's talk about scent control and how you make that happen for you. Because if anybody's hunted in the South, well, heck, in the Rocky Mountains September, man, it can be 60, 70 degrees out there, and I'm sweating. There ain't no way it's not going to happen. I'm sweating. So what do we do about that, Ryan?
Oh well, down here, it you can plan on sweating until the end of October. Really, what I do usually is, because you're gonna sweat, like you said, just make sure you can buy the scent control products, and that's definitely a plus. But the main thing is keeping your body clean before you go, even if it's 100 degrees. You need to make sure you don't come home right after work and go straight out there with say your same boots on you had on all day. That's kind of a no-no. But I like to wash my clothes about every time I hunt, basically, and hang them up outside and let the wind blow through them. That always helps in my opinion. But if the wind's wrong and you got everything right, scent control, you're clean, and the wind's blowing right at a big buck, you're out of luck. In my experience, it's a tough game, so you got to really have it set up beforehand, your wind situation. But definitely, products help keeping your clothes clean, and your body clean. It's a lot of little pieces into it that'll help you out. You got to put it all together, which is hard to do when you come home from work and you're in a hurry and you got to go. But definitely keeping your clothes and stuff clean, finding a good spray on product helps. I don't have any experience with the ozone machines yet. I've heard they work, but I don't have any experience with them yet.
Now, as far as spray on, everybody's got one. I think it's Dead Downwind, and I'm thinking Carbon Skin and Pure One. I Am Custom. I mean, they're great guys. Every company is a great guy, and they've got they've got their product. But what works for you?
I I like any of them. I like the fresh earth smell. The Scent Killer Gold, Fresh Earth, Hunter Specialties. It's kind of always been just an easy one to pick up at the store, because it's so I mean, it's everywhere. And if you're somewhere, you're in a hurry, and like, okay, I can get some of that real quick. As far as I know, Lethal makes some stuff that is more, I I think they put a little more time into it probably to because you actually mix it together when it comes packaged in two separate bottles and you mix it together after you buy it instead of it being pre-mixed and sitting in the same bottle for whoever knows how long. I know that's probably a good idea, but I do like the fresh earth scent, just because it's natural, and I've just always been partial to that because it really does smell just like fresh earth in most cases.
Thanks for that. I'm sitting looking at the clock, and we got a couple more minutes. Parting shots. Your thoughts you want to leave with the listeners across North America?
Oh, hey, I would just say, I like this type of show. It's so cool. I wish I could turn on my radio in my truck and listen to hunting talk on the way down the road, but I don't think we're there yet. But I just think stuff like this is very cool. You can get a lot of knowledge from stuff like this. Watching it because watching the stuff on major television networks is commercialized, and you got big buck getting shot. We got a little bit of picture time. We got product placement, and then commercial for something else. You see big bucks and you see a little bit of product stuff, commercials, but you don't get into any details on how to scout. I think this kind of stuff is important to people who want to get out and go, and if they don't know how to go, and they say, "Hey, I've never been hunting before. I need to take my 6-year-old hunting with me." You don't really learn how to do that and maximize your time out there by watching some of that stuff on TV. So I think stuff like this is important.
Great. Well, I think of Jay Scott at Big Buck Registry. He's a guy that's got a great show. Mark Kenyon does a super job. He's wired to hunt. My friend Jay Scott out west, Jay Scott Outdoors, and I'm thinking of John Stallone with the Masters, with the Hunting Masters, interviews with the Hunting Masters. And there's some of the guys you need to listen to. Yeah, there's others. And sorry, guys, I just forgot who you were. But podcasting does bring everything to you because it's available 24/7 wherever you are. And if you got a smartphone, you can listen to this podcast. You can listen to my podcast, anybody's podcast all day long. And I think to a man, everybody brings some interesting content. Dan Johnson, Nine Finger Chronicles, he's got a great show. So there's a lot of great information out there. And Ryan, I'm just so happy you've been a guest on Whitetail Rendezvous this afternoon.
It's been super cool. Super cool. Thank you.
We're heading up north of the border, province of Alberta, with Matt Gatto. Now, Matt works in the oil sands industry, but he loves to hunt those big Alberta bucks. And he does it by spot and stalk. He'll do it by ground blinds, and he'll incorporate scent into his hunting techniques. Matt's been hunting for over 7 years, and he really enjoys chasing those wily whitetails in the bush of Alberta, Canada.
Thanks for joining us. Be sure to tune in tomorrow for another episode of Whitetail Rendezvous, where you can listen and learn from the experts so you can be more successful on your next hunt. Until next time, listen, learn, and succeed.